provided by Thomas Allgeier and Frennis, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about MarTech in calendar weeks 32 and 33. Frennis is a B2B market research company that supports enterprise marketing teams in unlocking the full potential of their customer data with the help of AI. You can find more info in the description.
Yeah, so imagine an AI agent, right? It's just quietly scanning your CRM in the background. It notices a major prospect is, sort of slipping away.
Okay.
And it analyzes their past behavior, writes a highly targeted email, and then just fires off an outbound campaign.
Wow.
All without a single human ever logging into a software dashboard. Like, we are officially past the era of those cute, highly governed AI pilots.
Yeah, the training wheels are off.
Exactly. They're totally off. We're looking at actual autonomous AI execution happening in live production environments, like right now.
And that is exactly the mission for this deep dive today. We are unpacking this massive structural shift that's happening across the entire MarTech landscape. We're going to look at how agentic AI is finally, getting his hands on the keyboard, and how our underlying data infrastructure is just completely breaking and having to re-architect itself to support that.
Right, because it has to.
Exactly. And fundamentally, we want to look at how the day-to-day job of a B2B marketer is changing because of all this.
Yeah, it's a huge shift. And I think the biggest breakthrough that's unlocking all this autonomous execution is a technology that is just dominating the conversation right now. It's called MCP.
Okay, MCP.
Yeah, Model Context Protocol. So if you aren't familiar with it, think of MCP as like a universal USB-C cable, but for artificial intelligence.
I like that analogy.
Right. It's an open standard. It allows an AI agent to plug directly into your company's proprietary data and your enterprise tools. And Martin Keane highlighted a massive milestone on this front recently.
Oh, what is that?
He noted that Salesforce has officially moved its MCP servers to general availability.
Okay, so it's out in the wild.
Exactly. And what this means in practice is that AI agents can now access data completely headless.
Headless, meaning no UI.
Right, no user interface. The agent can just query your Salesforce database, pull out insights, and take direct action without needing a human to click around a screen. The UI essentially becomes optional at this point.
That is wild. I mean, I love the idea of an AI diagnosing a problem instantly, but let's be real for a second.
Yeah.
We saw a really great breakdown from Varun Parmar and Akande Davis, and they were discussing how Adobe is rolling out their own MCP servers for GenStudio and Marketo Engage.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, and they highlighted this specific use case. A marketer can open up, say, Claude or ChatGPT and just ask, why is my ad campaign tanking?
And it just tells you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The agent reaches into Marketo, pulls the customer records, and just hands you the answer in the chat. But I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Half the time, these large language models hallucinate basic math.
Yeah, they really do.
So if an AI hallucinates, the reason my ad is underperforming and I just trust it blindly, I might accidentally pull the plug on a $1 million campaign that was actually working perfectly fine.
Oh, absolutely.
So do we really trust these systems to act directly on our data?
Well, that is the exact tension the industry is wrestling with right now. But the crazy thing is, the adoption is pushing forward anyway, and it's extending way beyond just those massive enterprise platforms like Salesforce and Adobe.
Really? Where else are we seeing it?
Well, Majaji pointed out that Clay, and Clay is a platform a ton of B2B teams use for data enrichment.
Right. Love Clay.
Yeah, they have now added an MCP interface along with a command line interface.
Oh, wow.
So Clay is no longer just a place where you build fancy spreadsheet tables, You can use plain English to instruct an agent to execute a really complex outbound campaign.
Just by typing it out.
Yeah. The agent builds the workflow, it scores the inbound leads, and it runs the entire sequence automatically.
Okay, let's just pause on that. Giving an AI agent direct read and write access to our databases via MCP and letting it run live campaigns, that's a terrifying level of access.
It is a little scary, yeah.
It's less like hiring an eager intern and more like giving an algorithm the master override to like your city's traffic light system.
That's a good way to put it.
Right, because if the AI optimizes for traffic flow at one specific intersection, it might accidentally cause a 10-mile gridlock everywhere else, simply because it doesn't understand the broader context of the entire city.
Exactly.
So how do organizations ensure these agents don't just completely crash their workflows and operations?
Well, the answer is by fundamentally changing the approval mechanism. You don't take the algorithm offline, right? You just stop it from turning the light screen without your permission.
Okay, so putting a human back in the loop.
Yes. Mikkel Baye shared a perfect example of how this is actually being deployed safely in the real world. He looked at how AWS worked with Formula One to handle their massive data operations.
Oh, F1 has so much data.
Right. And F1 had this agonizing 18-month backlog. They were just trying to onboard 12 new fan data sources into their MarTech platform.
Wait, 12 sources was an 18-month backlog.
Yeah, the projection was 18 months because of all the manual mapping and compliance work. But using agentic AI, they cleared that entire backlog in just a matter of weeks.
Weeks? That's insane.
It is, but here's the kicker. The secret wasn't full autonomy. It was a really strict AI proposes humans review framework.
Okay, so the AI drafts the blueprint, but it isn't allowed to, actually pour the concrete.
Exactly. The AI does, 95% of the really tedious manual work. It maps out the data schemas, it writes the ingestion pipelines, it configures the GDPR compliance policies.
Oh, the heavy lifting.
All of it. But then it stops, and it submits a pull request.
Right, the developer term.
Yeah, which is just a software engineering term for saying, hey, I made these changes, please review them before we merge them into the live system.
So a human still has the final say.
A human engineer has to officially approve that request before anything actually goes live. And we are starting to see this exact philosophy get baked directly into marketing platforms now.
Like natively.
Yeah. Larry Huck noted that Adobe Workfront AI collaborators just reached general availability. And that provides a shared system of record.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. So whether you build your agent on Claude or Copilot or Writer, the agent routes its completed work into Workfront. And the human review happens directly in that workflow before any campaign actually ships to the public.
Okay, that transition from humans, doing the work to humans reviewing the work is really profound.
It changes everything.
It does, but it also creates a new compounding problem. If AI can build workflows and write code and spin up custom apps at this kind of blistering speed, our tech stacks are going to become completely unmanageable.
Oh, absolutely.
We aren't just talking about a crowded MarTech stack anymore. We are staring down the barrel of a massive system governance crisis.
The sheer economics of software creation have entirely inverted. Seven Goats shared a really stark warning about this. He introduced this concept called the hypertail.
The hypertail?
Ah.
Okay, what is that?
So for the last decade, we've thought of the MarTech landscape as having, maybe 15,000 SaaS tools globally.
Which already feels like too many.
Right. But today, we have something called vibe coding.
Vibe coding?
Yeah, it's where non-technical marketers just type what they want in plain English, and the AI writes the underlying code to build a fully functioning app.
Wow.
Because of that, a small team can build a niche, single-purpose application in a matter of hours. So Guts warns that the landscape is splitting. We are looking at a near future with potentially 1 million AI-generated micro tools living inside enterprise environments.
1 million micro tools.
Yeah.
And let me guess. A marketer is going to use an AI agent to build a custom tool for one specific webinar campaign. They'll use it for 3 weeks and then completely forget it even exists.
Exactly.
It just quietly lives on as shadow IT in the background forever.
That is exactly what happens. And this perfectly illustrates a concept that Bill Habib calls the platform tax.
What's the platform tax?
Yeah, because everyone focuses on the software licensing fees, right? But the real cost of MarTech today is the organizational burnout. It's the human toll of trying to absorb, integrate, and train your teams on new technology way faster than is humanly possible.
Real quick, if you are a marketing leader trying to make sense of this chaos and you want to stay ahead of these shifts, make sure to hit subscribe on this deep dive so you don't miss our future editions. We track these underlying architectural changes constantly, so you don't have to.
Definitely.
Now, looking at that shadow IT risk, this feels like we are completely ignoring recent history.
How so?
Well, Gabe Larson put out a massive red flag about this. He pointed out that we are in danger of repeating the exact same SaaS sprawl mistakes we made in the 2010s, but on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, we bought a different point solution for every tiny problem until the stack became this giant disconnected monster. Now, we're about to do it with AI agents.
Which is worse.
Right? You could easily end up with a company stacking 30 different single-purpose AI agents, an outbound SDR agent, a customer support agent, a recruiting agent. And they all have 30 separate memories, 30 disconnected dashboards, and they absolutely do not talk to each other.
And when things don't talk to each other, you don't just lose efficiency. You create severe, catastrophic security vulnerabilities.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about the security side.
It's bad. Clark Barron broke down a recent highly publicized breach at Clue, which is a competitive intelligence vendor.
Okay.
And it perfectly illustrates the danger of this ungoverned sprawl we're talking about. The intruder didn't hack a firewall. They didn't guess a password.
And how did they get in?
They walked right through a side door using a long dormant API credential from an abandoned integration prototype. A developer simply forgot to turn it off.
Wait, an integration that never even went live?
Exactly, just a test that got forgotten.
If you're a RevOps manager listening to this right now, that should terrify you. You probably have 3 or 4 of these dormant API connections sitting in your stack today just gathering dust.
At least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And the damage it caused at Clue was staggering. The intruder used that dead credential to harvest OAuth tokens.
Okay.
And you can think of an oath token as a digital skeleton key. It allows one application to access another without needing the user's password every single time.
Right. It just keeps the door open.
Yeah. So with those skeleton keys, the intruder gained deep access into Salesforce, HubSpot, and Slack environments across at least a dozen connected companies.
That is brutal.
It gets worse. Here is the truly chilling detail from Barron's breakdown. The affected companies couldn't even tell what data had been stolen.
Why not? Don't they have logs?
Well, enterprise platforms will show you which external apps have been granted access, but there is no visitor log recording what those API grants actually do once they are inside the system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the permissions were standing, silent, and entirely unmonitored.
But wait, if that Clue breach happened because of a forgotten side door, and we're about to unleash 1 million micro agents that are all trying to connect to our systems, how do we possibly secure that?
It's a huge challenge.
We can't build a firewall around 1 million tiny tools. The only logical solution is to stop moving the data around in the first place, right?
You're hitting the nail on the head.
Like, if the data stays in one central location, the agents have to come to the data, rather than us piping the data out to all the agents.
That is the exact architectural pivot the industry is making right now. Ed Pop shared an analogy from Subbu Desiraju that visualizes this beautifully.
Let's hear it.
He compares the entire customer data ecosystem to a city's water supply.
Okay, water supply.
Think about the flow. You start with a reservoir, which represents your source systems, like your CRM or your website.
Right.
Then the water moves to the treatment plant. That's where you do all your data transformation, deduplication, and cleaning.
Okay, making it drinkable.
Exactly. Next are the pipes, representing the API handoffs between your different platforms. And finally, you have the tap. The tap is your reporting dashboard, or in today's world, your AI prompt.
The problem is, most marketers only ever look at the tap. They just turn it on and assume the water is clean.
Precisely. But if the data is dirty at the reservoir, or if that treatment plant fails to deduplicate records, those errors compound at every single step down the pipes.
Right.
By the time it reaches the tap, you end up feeding poisoned water to your AI models. And an AI model hallucinating on bad data at scale is a complete disaster. It will confidently send the wrong pricing to your biggest client.
So to fix the plumbing, basically, the market is aggressively reorganizing where the treatment plant actually lives.
Yes.
Real Longacre pointed out a massive architectural shift recently when Databricks introduced Customer Lake.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, they specifically positioned it as an agentic CDP, or customer data platform. And why does that matter? Because it signals that traditional CDP functionality is being completely devoured by the core data warehouse layer. AI requires massive raw computing power to run its predictive models. It doesn't want a filtered, rigid view of the data sitting in a separate marketing tool. It wants to live natively where the raw data lives, which is in the data cloud.
We saw further validation of this from Munir Nedjai. He noted that Salesforce recently renamed Data Cloud to Headless 360.
Headless 360.
Yeah. They are completing a transition from offering a standalone marketing product into providing pure underlying infrastructure. The data doesn't even move into Salesforce anymore.
Let's pause on that because that is a huge shift.
Yeah.
How does Salesforce access the data if it doesn't actually move it?
Through something called a zero-copy architecture.
Zero copy.
Yeah. Instead of physically copying 1 million customer records from your Snowflake or Databricks warehouse over into Salesforce, which, takes time, creates latency, and costs a ton of money.
Right.
Salesforce just points to the data where it already lives. Think of it like giving someone the call number for a library book instead of photocopying all 400 pages for them.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
The data stays resident in the warehouse, and the applications just read it in place. Ravi Saragi from Unifor echoed this exact sentiment. He argued that the era of the traditional rules-based CDP is officially over. Done. Instead, teams are deploying custom small language models, and these run predictive simulations directly on top of that unified zero-copy data before a campaign ever even launches.
But even with this incredible architecture, we are still running into fundamental flaws with how the software industry actually operates.
Yeah, the business side gets in the way.
Totally. Neera Vyas highlighted a fascinating kind of counterintuitive problem regarding how we store this unified data.
What did he say?
Well, let's say you work in a sector with an incredibly long consideration cycle, like booking luxury travel or buying a new car.
Sure.
The highest value customers in those industries often take years to finally convert. A family might browse your automotive site anonymously for, say, 18 months. They're configuring different car models, looking at colors, before they finally walk into a dealership.
Right, it's a huge purchase.
But because legacy marketing platforms charge companies based on the total number of profiles they store, teams are forced to expire and delete anonymous profiles after 90 days, just to save money on licensing fees.
Oh, wow. It's a structural paradox.
Mm-hmm.
The billing model of the software is fundamentally breaking the AI's capability.
Exactly. The licensing model is forcing organizations to artificially wipe the memory of their own AI.
That is so counterproductive.
It is. So when that family finally comes back to the website in month 10 to actually buy the car, the AI treats them like a total stranger. It starts offering them entry-level sedans instead of the luxury SUV they've been researching for nearly a year.
Yeah.
Your technology stack is literally punishing your most profitable customer behavior because you didn't want to pay a few extra cents to store their profile.
Which brings us to a critical realization. If the data is being centralized in these massive zero-copy data clouds, and AI agents are taking over the actual execution of campaigns through MCPs, what is the human marketer actually supposed to do?
Right, if the AI is doing everything.
If the machine writes the copy, builds the flow, and pulls the list, what is the job description?
Well, the job titles themselves are actively changing right now to reflect this new reality.
We are.
Mike Rizzo and Ashley Langford observed that marketing ops leaders are increasingly abandoning the ops title entirely. They're being rebranded as GTM engineers or marketing engineers.
GTM engineers, I like that.
Yeah, they're no longer just administrators who reset passwords for an email tool. They are taking architectural ownership of the entire go-to-market strategy.
That's a massive elevation of the role.
It really is. And we also saw an interesting insight from Fabio Canalesi. He noted that enterprise companies are drastically shifting how they hire for CRM roles.
How so?
Instead of building out these heavily layered teams of junior, mid-level, and senior staff to manage operations, they are hiring a single, highly capable senior individual contributor.
Just one person.
Just one.
Yeah.
Because the AI is handling the heavy lifting of writing the code and building the integrations, one strategic expert can effectively do the work of a 4-person team.
But that strategic human expertise is more critical than it has ever been, for reasons that technology alone simply cannot solve.
Explain that.
So, Matthew McDonough diagnosed the root cause of this brilliantly. He talked about the ontological layer of business data.
Ontological, like the philosophy term.
Yes, exactly. Ontology is just the philosophical study of how we categorize reality. Every single application in your tech stack models reality differently based on the specific job it was built to do.
Right. So if you ask a marketing platform what a customer is, it defines them by their email address and their audience engagement.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask a CRM, it cares about the company account and the opportunity stage.
Right.
And if you ask the billing system, a customer is just an active subscription ID and an invoice.
Exactly. Each of those views is entirely legitimate for its specific function, but none of them represents the complete truth of the business. Yep. And here is the fatal flaw in thinking AI can solve everything. You cannot just dump all those conflicting tables into a data warehouse, ask an AI to write a SQL join, and expect it to magically make sense of your business.
It doesn't know what you mean.
A technical join between two databases is ultimately an expression of an organizational disagreement.
Oh, that's good.
Before the technology can ever work, human beings have to sit in a room, navigate the internal company politics, and strategically agree on a unified definition of reality. What officially defines a churn risk? When does an MQL actually become in SQL?
Yeah.
The AI doesn't know your company politics. It cannot make those philosophical decisions for you.
And human logic is the only thing that prevents these high-speed machines from doing very stupid things very quickly.
Absolutely.
Christopher Marriott shared a perfect real-world example of this. He received a harsh payment decline notice from a progressive insurance company.
Oh, I hate those.
Right. But the catch was, the notice was sent 3 days after he'd already logged into the portal and corrected his payment information. The system worked perfectly from a purely technical standpoint. A rule triggered a message, and the agent delivered it. But it failed entirely from a customer experience standpoint because the system lacked fresh context.
Just didn't know he fixed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Message speed means absolutely nothing if it lacks human logic and real-time awareness. Sending the wrong message at the speed of light just damages your brand faster.
Which brings us to the ultimate realization for marketing leaders today. John Miller shared a quote from Kyle Lacey that perfectly encapsulates where this entire industry is heading.
Let's hear it.
He said, fast forward a year or two, every single marketing team in the world, including your competitors, is going to be running the exact same AI stack.
That's true.
They will all have the same agentic workflows, the same foundational language models, and the same capability to generate 1,000 personalized emails a minute. When everyone has the exact same tools, the tools completely stop being a competitive differentiator.
So if the tech stack is just a commodity, what's left? What is the actual moat?
Human taste, human judgment. Yeah, knowing which ideas are actually worth making in the first place, and knowing what kind of messaging is going to resonate emotionally with another human being. When AI levels the playing field on execution, your taste becomes your only sustainable competitive advantage.
That is a really profound place to land. It completely reframes the panic around AI taking marketing jobs.
It really does.
It isn't replacing the marketer. It's just stripping away the robotic tasks and elevating the truly creative, strategic parts of the work that humans are actually good at.
It does. But before we wrap up, there is one final provocative angle to all of this that every B2B professional needs to consider.
Okay, lay on me.
We've spent this entire deep dive talking about AI agents acting on behalf of the company, right? Marketing agents, sales agents, support agents.
Yeah.
But what happens when the buyer gets their own agents?
Oh, wow. We haven't even talked about the customer side.
Right. Think about your perfectly architected MarTech stack. What happens to it when your potential customer uses their own AI shopping agent to go out, analyze 30 different vendors, read all your technical documentation, scrape your pricing, and disqualify you before a human being ever even visits your website?
That is terrifying.
Your analytics dashboard won't see a bounce. Your CRM won't record a lost opportunity. Marketing might not just lose the customer in this new era. If you aren't architecting your content for AI to AI communication, you might lose the very first point of contact entirely.
Wow.
It's an existential shift that every GTM engineer needs to be thinking about right now.
If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on field marketing, channel marketing and partner ecosystem, AI and B2B, go-to-market, ABM, and social selling.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the changing landscape. It's a wild time.
It really is. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next breakdown. See you next time.